she left the repo rate at 5%, which I guess wasn't a surprise, really, to be honest.
Not.
But it's always in what she says in doing so. What does she say, perhaps, that we should take note of?
Well, I think she's rightly concerned about inflation, which she sees apparently peaking at 6.1% later this year. And we've got to watch cost-push inflation. I think that was really a given, and she extrapolated a long time on that. I think she also said that the weaker rand will benefit the economy to some extent.
All right, so in situations like this, of course, the exports become quite attractive, imports not so.
Absolutely, and including the price of our own petrol.
All right, okay, so no drama there, I guess, yesterday. But what is of concern is the rand, and I've been tracking this for a while. You know, it was only last week I said, are we going to hit 9 to the dollar? And we weren't sure. But now we've got 12 to the euro even. What's happening with the rand?
Well, we run a balance of payments deficit, so it is funded by largely buyers of bonds who have been selling lately. Clearly, they've been concerned with last week's events, which appear to contradict the very business-friendly message that came out of Mangaung. And obviously, in the last few days, President Zuma and his team have been doing damage control in Davos to try and correct those impressions. So what we've got to hope is that the bond market takes a wait-and-see attitude for the next 3 to 6 months, because we're now committed to the new National Development Plan. And if they see we're actually going to implement it, I think things will calm down. But otherwise, there's a risk of further weakness.
All right, so all of this bad news, and why on earth then would the JSE be hitting all-time highs? We had a new high yesterday.
Well, as you've just said, it's good for exporters, and that's the mining sector and resources, and it also benefits manufacturing, which gets less competition from imports.
So are we going to see it continue to rise, the JSE?
Well,
it's a hard one.
You're asking a stockbroker. I think we're not. It's not as though our market is cheap. But clearly, a weaker rand is going to benefit the economy. Bear in mind, there's certain ministers, finance ministers elsewhere in the world, who are extremely worried about what they call a bout of currency wars starting in the world. So, in a sense, I suppose we're a bit lucky, but let's not have too much of a good thing.
Right. Okay, and lastly, President Zuma was in Davos trying to sell the South African story, and some of the images coming out of South Africa weren't great. What do you think?
Well, what he says it was well received, but clearly people would listen politely, and then they will turn their gaze onto what's happening internally. So we need, hopefully, Labour to calm down a bit this year, and the disputes to be peacefully resolved. The Sasolburg situation is really a reflection of the very high levels of unemployment in the country, because there are a lot of people with the leisure to go running around doing questionable things.
Very nicely put. Okay, we're going to have to leave it there, Stephen, but I think we hit pretty much the big headlines of the week, and thanks for your thoughts on them.
You're welcome.
All right, okay, let's take a look at those indicators to tell us what they've been telling us. And we'll start with the currencies, which is not pretty sight. The rand fell again yesterday, especially after the Monetary Policy Committee's statement. And there you go, 9.05 to the dollar, 12.08 to the euro. I've stopped looking at the pound-dollar rand rate. Not pretty at all. Okay, so what did that mean for the JSE? Well, apparently the JSE loved this. They saw another surge on the JSE. An all-time high was reached with industrial and mining shares leading the charge, 40,605 points, and we're up a whopping 1% yesterday. So good day for trade there. Let's see what happens today. Hey, European shares in the meantime closed higher, with the markets taking direction from an opening rise on Wall Street, where the S&P 500 hit the 1,500 mark for the first time since December 2007. So great news in Europe yesterday. So what did the US do then eventually? Well, the US stocks finished higher, with the Dow Jones closing at its best level in 5 years, lifted by a batch of stronger than expected earnings. It is earnings season in the US at the moment, and they're coming in quite good actually, much better than they had anticipated. Meanwhile, Asian shares this morning slightly higher across the board, and this is on improved global prospects, whatever that means. So let's take a look at all right, Asian. Let's go to the commodities now. And there is your commodity space. All right, okay. That's where I'm going to leave it for the time being. Don't forget, 1 o'clock, SABC 3 for more comprehensive business update. Right now, though, let's find out what kind of traffic we have on this Friday.